Hey guys, Rebel95, recording live from the Low County Prison Cell. So, I complained that we had 2 confirmed death battles for next season without a release date. Now we have 3 because at MagFest they confirmed the Dragonborn Dovahkiin versus the Chosen Undead, right? And we still don't have a release date for any, or we don't have a release date for the season, other than it's going to be in 2023, which is now. And we don't know what the first fight of Season 10 is going to be as of me making this video. I'm sure someone in the comments will say, oh no, they just released today that the first fight's going to be on blah, 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 and it's going to be this. Well, great. Okay, if that happens, then phenomenal. I will make a video about it at some point when I see it, okay? But right now, I'm just kind of stuck in this situation where I know I have 3 fights I know I'm going to have to do predictions on, and I don't know what I'm supposed to do with that information, so I'm just here doing a regular video. Yeah, and this is one that's, it was one that I hadn't thought about, and honestly, I had no reason to think about. But, like, sometimes things just work, and you hate that you didn't see it. So this is Voldemort versus Orochimaru. Voldemort from Harry Potter and Orochimaru from Naruto. So, I've done fights with both of these characters, and the issue is, and I end up saying this a lot, there are a lot of fights for both of these characters that would work, and I think that instead of, like, looking for the perfect Voldemort fight and then looking for the perfect Orochimaru fight, I think they're actually really good against each other. And, like, what did I do? I did Voldemort versus Vader, I think, which was just literally, well, Luke versus Harry had happened. This was, like, what, season 2 or 3? So I just literally said, well, let's throw whoever together, let's throw the villains together. And that was, what, 9 or 10 years ago by this point. And, I did Orochimaru and Naraku, which I still think is, like, amazing, right? I still think that's a fucking fight, because I'm past the 2-minute mark. Okay. I still think that's a really good fight, because, like, it's not a scientific or means of going about it, right? But when you look at a death battle, when you look at a fight and you say, I want to see that, it's a good fight. Come on. That was my reaction to, what was it? That was my reaction to, like, Strider and Ryu Hayabusa. That was my reaction to, like, Wolverine Raiden. That was my reaction to, like, there's a lot of fights where I was like, damn, I just want to see this fight now, Like, it just sounds awesome. And I'm like, yeah, that when that happens, I mean, you can't fail. And that's how I feel about Orochimaru and Naraku. I just think, like, they're just that kind of villain. But I think this one actually works really well. And looking at it, I'm going to get into it, but I think that this might be the way to go about it. So, start with Voldemort. Just so everyone knows, I mean, I grew up around the Harry Potter era. I had older sisters who were very into Harry Potter, and I had friends that were very into Harry Potter, but I never jumped into it super, like, a lot. So I'm using very passive knowledge on this. So yeah, Voldemort being the Dark Lord character in Harry Potter is arguably the second most powerful wizard in the series, if I'm not mistaken, right? The only equally powerful one would be someone like Dumbledore. And as such, he has mastered pretty much every element of magic, right? He has mastered, several different, like, all of these different, like, pretty much every possible, spell you can do with a wand. He has also done transformation magic, verbal magic, non-verbal magic. He can fly. His cloak itself is charmed so that he's able to send it on after you like a kind of like the Doctor Strange cape. He's yeah, and he's all of the what is it, the forbidden curses or whatever they're called. He's uses and mastered because he's the Dark Lord. Why would he obey the law? So some of those curses include, like, what is it, stupefy, which I think just like freezes you. Crucio, I think it's called, which is the one that tortures you, and of course the famous Avada Kedavra, which just kills you immediately if it hits you. He also does. He's one of the only parcel tongues, which means he can communicate with snakes. And they say communicate, but they mean really like control snakes through the language. And he's also made himself immortal. He's over 100 years old. Because his soul is tied to several Horcruxes, which all contain a piece of his soul, meaning that he is able, that as long as not all of those Horcruxes are destroyed, he's able to keep reincarnating. His physical form is capable of being brought back, right? Only when the Horcruxes get destroyed is his soul completely destroyed. The only other way I think they said to destroy him is to actually, like, make him feel remorse for what he's done or something, but that is stupid. Yeah, and, I'm making it, there's not much to go off of, but, like, when you consider the breadth of things that they can do in Harry Potter, saying this guy has mastered all these different elements of magic, and he has a rare trait like Parcel Tongue, and he can do that, and he's immortal, is pretty much about as much as it gets. It's as good as you get, pretty much. Yeah, so moving on to Orochimaru, this is going to be very information limited just because of how much both of these characters can do. So Orochimaru is one of the 3 legendary Sanin of the Hidden Leaf Village. He is the kind of teammate of Jiraiya and Tsunade, who trained under the 3rd Hokage. He's his goal was always to master all, basically obtain all knowledge that a ninja could obtain. Because in his mind, even if somebody could learn all of the information and all of the jutsu that you could learn in the time, right? Even if you could learn every technique that there was only so much time you had before you die and it all went to waste. So his goal was pretty much to become immortal, which sounded okay, reasonable. Then he abandoned the Leaf Village, turned on their government, joined the Akatsuki, started his own organization to kill the 3rd Hokage and try to take over the Leaf Village, kidnapped Sasuke, tried to gave him the curse mark, tried to groom him to become his next vessel, etc., etc. So in his quest for immortality, he has actually obtained a lot of techniques that are actually, kind of exclusive to him. So, like, that living curse reanimation thing, where he's able to, like, what he tried to do to Sasuke, where he gives you the curse mark, and that kind of preps you for, becoming the next vessel, right? He's capable of just stealing somebody's body, essentially. Like, he's capable of just, not like outright, but he's capable of transferring himself into another body. And this has made him so annoying in the series, because every time he dies, he just comes, like, I know they say that about every villain, but, like, he came back in the middle of the fight between Sasuke and Itachi. Itachi just, like, flicks him away, essentially, like, just just stares him into non-existence, and then he comes back again. I mean, like, it's literally like a joke at this point. There's just no means for him to actually, like he just never gets killed. Also annoyingly, everything is snake themed, which really undersells his ability because he is kind of this just terrifyingly powerful ninja. But yeah, he uses the power of the white snake, which lets him not only gives him a healing factor, but also lets him essentially transform his limbs into snakes. He can summon snakes from his body, right? He can summon a giant snake. I forget its name, but it's a giant snake. Whatever. And he also has a blade that he keeps in his mouth that also is snake-like in the sense that it can just extend forever. He can also do that with his neck, and like I said, if he bites you, he can give you a curse mark, but that's only really effective if you have chakra, so, what have you. Yeah, but I mean, with all of these abilities combined, and then all the additional jutsu that he's learned, like his Rashomon technique and things like that, he's taken on what Naruto after he's gotten 4 of the tails released of Kurama. Like, they actually look at this guy and say this man is a monster. Like, he's not a ninja anymore. This guy is just straight up a force of nature. So looking at this fight, because I'm just gonna get into the fight here. This isn't. There's no point in trying to list everything in case I miss something, because I think rather than what specific these two have essentially immortality. So instead of looking at it in a sense of, okay, what things do they do that specifically, you have to look at it as, all right, how does their immortality work? And how is that going to affect this fight? They both have immortality technically, but they never, they still die. It's more akin to, reincarnation or reanimating themselves than it is, immortality. They come back. They die and come back. So if one of them was able to kill the other, I think that would work. So we wouldn't have to have Orochimaru find the Horcruxes, and we wouldn't have to have Voldemort, kill all of Orochimaru's clone bodies or something. So with that being said, I think Orochimaru probably takes this fight. There are some pretty cool things in this, again, Orochimaru summons snakes. Yeah, they come from his body, and they're not, real snakes, but they are snakes. They act like snakes, they do all those things, right? So Parseltongue should, in theory, be able to make them turn on him, right? He should be able to make the snakes turn on Orochimaru. Also, one of those Horcruxes is the Basilisk that Voldemort has complete control over. This sounds, now you might say, well, that's not fair, that's outside of the... Look, we're giving Orochimaru the ability to summon a giant snake, and I think he still comfortably takes this. Let's just let the Basilisk fight, okay? Now, Basilisk blood is supposed to be incredibly dangerous. So but I don't think it's going to be and that's not me taking that from that's in the Sword of Gryffindor was be able, blah, 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 right? It was able to do things because Basilisk blood would normally kill you, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Well, so, we're going to have the Basilisk fight the Orochimaru giant snake at that point. Parseltongue, he'd still probably be able to control the giant snake anyway, so Orochimaru would just unsummon it at that point, though. That's kind of the problem, is, even... Once he realizes that the snakes are a hindrance, he would just stop using them, but even at that point, there's still, a lot that Orochimaru can do to kill Voldemort, and Voldemort just has very limited options, especially against a ninja. Not just a ninja, but also a ninja who can modify their body to, move and all these crazy things. Because regardless of what Voldemort does, he essentially has to hit Orochimaru with a spell. whether it's, whether it's Stupefy or Avada Kedavra or whatever, he still has to hit him, right? This isn't like there's no area of effect spell that he'd be using. And even though Voldemort can actually match another few things of Orochimaru, like he can teleport, right? So technically speaking, he might be fast enough to, he might be fast enough to actually like, or you could argue that he is faster, right? Now there's the substitution jutsu, which is kind of like teleportation, but you could argue like it's not like Orochimaru is going to speed blitz him and auto win, right? But there's so few ways, because I brought up Rashomon, right? He could just summon Rashomon, and then when he goes to use Avada Kedavra, like maybe it might not be fast enough or something, but there's really not like, he just has all of these insane options. He can just, spit a 100-foot sword at him. He could, stretch his limbs out to attack him. And Orochimaru himself isn't a snake. Before anyone says that. Orochimaru himself is not a snake. So he would not be affected by the parcel tongue. But Voldemort could kill Orochimaru with certainty with something like Avada Kedavra. But Orochimaru also has like 5 other things that I'm convinced could kill Voldemort pretty distinctly. And they might not be guaranteed either, but like, compare that number of options versus Voldemort's options, and then compare Voldemort's options when you consider that it's being used against a guy who like never dies and has always been evading death and can like stretch it, like I said, can stretch his body to inhuman ways and is a trained ninja so that he can evade all these incoming attacks. He's pretty... I think it's pretty unlikely that we get a succinct Voldemort W on the basis of a spell, right? So no, there's some neat counters in this fight and some cool things that would end up happening, but there's no... This is very far from a one character auto wins because they have the auto win power. And I think Orochimaru is just outside of all of those auto win spells. I think Orochimaru is just the more powerful character in this regard. He's just at a higher power level at that point. So I'd say Orochimaru wins this. But yeah, I will make a prediction video whenever they decide to get off their asses and actually tell us when the episodes are coming out. But until then, for Blinky95, see ya.